be advised, the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Buenas noches, maray na banggi sa Indogabos, masantos sa salabid si Kuya Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Mayong gabi sa Tibok, Mindanao, Visayas, ug sa Luzon. Ito po ang inyong Republika, ako si Erik Espina. Alam niyo po, sa ilang mga araw na ay magkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag nating EDSA 1 People Power Celebration o Anniversary. Pero bago tayo makadating doon sa punto na nagkaroon ng People Power Revolution o Anniversary, kailangan balik tanawin natin kung anong mga kaganapan o kung sino mga personalidad ang naging haligi upang makamtan po natin ang ganap na demokrasya at kalayaan sa ating bansa. Kaya sa pagkakataong ito po ay titignan natin ang ating kasaysayan sa mata ng mga kabataan, lalo't sa isang pamilya na may kinalaman sa paghubog at sa pagkakaroon ng katatagan ng ating tinatamasa ngayong kalayaan. Kaya ikinagagala kong ipakilala sa inyo para po sa ating programang Doy Laurel at Unido, ang bagong saling lahi o henerasyon ng mga Laurel. Walang iba, uunahin natin ang si Nicole, Laurel Asensio. Okay. At si Jose, ito pang-apat na Jose na ito kasi puro mga Jose, mga sikat ito eh. Jose the Fourth, Laurel Delgado.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Bago natin pakilala, no? You are the granddaughter, grandson. How does this go? Your mother.
Yes, my mother is the youngest daughter of Doy and Celia Laurel.
Okay.
And his mother is the eldest daughter of
Okay.
Doy and Celia Laurel.
And your mother is.
Iwi Laurel.
Iwi is the singer.
Yes, sir.
And you are also a singer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yan. You sing para lang malaman ng publiko. Kasi, you know, the Laurels are a very artistic family, di ba? Paint, they sing. Doy Laurel did the violin. What do you do?
I'm a singer-songwriter.
Songwriter din?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anong pangalan ng solo singer, banda, what is it?
I do both, but right now
Okay.
I'm with a band called General Luna.
General Luna.
Yes.
Okay, this is, where do you guys sing naman?
Lately, we've been touring all around the Philippines. So, pati po sa mga probinsya, nakakarating po kami to share our music.
Okay. In the blood, which side of the family? Both sides?
Both sides.
Both sides, okay.
Both sides.
Okay, and then Jose, kanina sabi ko the fourth. Paano naging the fourth ka na?
Well, it's really more on the Delgado side.
Okay,
My great-grandfather was the first.
yeah.
And then
You're talking about president, oh?
No.
Hindi pa ito?
My father.
You have to educate me on this. Okay, sino?
This is the Delgado side.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So that's the Jose. Okay,
Yes.
okay. So ikaw ngayon ang the fourth na.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then you're also what? You're not into politics? What? You're into school? What is it?
I'm into business.
Okay. Artistic side also?
Yes, I enjoy music a lot, similar to Nicole.
Okay. Not singing?
Not singing.
He's being humble. He's a fantastic piano and guitar player.
Oh, there you go. See. Piano and guitar player. Modern, what kind of music?
Usually hard rock.
Okay.
Sort of stuff.
You share the same music?
Actually, we do. We both like classical and we both like rock.
Did you ever, get together at least in the family gatherings and sing or play together? No.
When we all lived together with Papa Doy, as we
Okay.
call him,
Okay.
we would have Sunday dinners in our house in Shaw. And after we'd finish eating, we'd sneak off to the piano and play music. And then one by one, they'd trickle in and kind of peek and see what we were doing.
Uh-huh. People were going to ask, how are you related to Denise? Laurel?
She's our first cousin.
She's your first cousin?
Yes.
And she's the only one so far in show business?
Yeah, of our generation.
Of your generation, yeah.
Yes, among the first cousins.
Okay.
We have some second cousins who are also
Okay.
in show business.
So far?
So far.
So far, okay. You're going to go into show business, hopefully, no?
I have no idea. I will let it call me. I will
Okay.
not call it.
How about you?
Showbiz is probably not my bag.
Okay. Business. And,
Business, yes.
yeah, okay. School?
I graduated from De La Salle University.
Okay. And what was your major?
I majored in literature.
Really? So you must be a good writer.
Well, I like to dabble in it. I like creative nonfiction.
Okay.
I
And,
graduated from the University of Asia and the Pacific
okay.
with a degree in business management.
Okay. I'll be talking the University of the Asia and the Pacific on the 27th. Unfortunately, no, I'm just kidding. No, no. Extra work for me, so I'll be lecturing. Anyway, Jose, you know, we're going to be talking about your grandfather actually, or your Papa Doy. How old were you when, you know, you were what, 5, 4, 3 years old? When,
I was 4 years old
okay,
when EDSA happened.
okay. And what are the reminiscences that you can recall about your Papa Doy?
This is during the 86.
Yeah, the 86 and the subsequent information that you eventually discovered regarding your grandfather.
Well, during the 86 EDSA revolution, I was only 4 years old. I remember a lot of brownouts. I remember us one time sleeping in his office in Shaw Boulevard. We had the transfer from our house in Makati to Shaw and stay there overnight. It was a blackout. He always had bodyguards around him. Little did I know what an integral figure he was for the opposition. And it was only when I went to college and he wasn't, you know, in his last days alive here on earth, that I researched on his life and find out a lot about him, how important he was to the regaining of freedom in this country.
You mentioned about bodyguards. Just to clarify that, these were security guards. They were not government bodyguards. These were private security guards.
Yes, private. Private.
Yes, yes. Because I think that was the time when we were basically under a martial regime,
Yes.
so to speak. And then, when you were in school, how did your knowledge of your grandfather come in? By word of mouth through your siblings, your mother, your father? How was it? Or did you just take it for granted and you knew that, oh, sure, I'm the grandson of Doy, but, or did you take eventually an active interest and you know, this just stated into yourself and you decided to take an active participation consciously to learn about him?
Well, I grew up in the U.S., so
Okay.
my knowledge of my family's importance in this country never really sank into my head. It was when I moved back here that I realized what an important person he was.
Okay.
So I naturally took an interest to his life. And it was then when I picked up a couple of his books that he wrote and books on his father.
Okay.
And it was through that I realized the valuable information that I used to acquire my knowledge of him.
Okay. How old were you? You probably weren't born yet at
I
the
was
time.
an EDSA revolution baby. So I was born a couple months after the revolution.
Okay.
But I grew up around our Papa Doy.
Okay.
So I may not have been there in the 86 revolution, but I got to see him go about his political activities. And one thing I recall is he was excellent at writing and giving speeches. He's an oratorical champion
Yes,
of
yes,
UP.
yes,
So naturally, his conviction when he speaks is infectious, and the crowd watches him. But what a lot of people don't know is Lola Celia and Papa Doy actually made a great team when it came to his speeches because he sleeps early and wakes up before the crack of dawn.
Okay.
This is Papa Doy.
Okay.
So he writes his speeches and leaves them there, and Lola Celia stays up very late and
Okay.
wakes up late. So when he'd leave his speeches there, she would stay up at night, edit them, and then he'd wake up and they'd be done and ready to go. So they made a beautiful pair.
Tandem.
Yeah, beautiful tandem.
That's something I didn't even know about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's something not a lot of people know, but it's something that they shared that is so unique, and it was an integral part of who he was, which is not a lot of people are like that anymore. The way he spoke with
Yes.
conviction.
How did, I mean, looking at yourself at that time in relation to your grandfather, to the events that happened in our country, you really didn't know who you were yet, or you had a sense already that you had to carry a certain torch bearing the Laurel name.
Well, going to school here in the Philippines, we would touch on the presidents, the vice presidents. And for some reason, whenever we'd have a school report, in grade school, grade 2, grade 3, they'd assign me to talk about Papa Doy. So it was very minimal knowledge. As I would say now, stuff you can Google on the internet.
Yes.
But this all I learned from talking to my mom, from talking to my Lola. And fortunately for me, Papa Doy was very available to me. I could come up to him anytime and ask him, what was this like for you? What was it like here? What was it like? And he would answer all my questions. He would help me with my schoolwork.
And what he was available, in short. You could just go to him and he was there. And
Oh yes, no matter how busy he was and how many projects he had to do in a day. Number one, he never forgot any of the grandchildren's birthdays, and we're very many. We're 18.
18, okay.
Yeah, he never forgot what we were going through. Like there were times I would come to him with problems in school, saying, "Oh, so and so betrayed me and this and that," and he would always
Human relations.
Yeah, human relations.
Yeah,
He would give me advice. He sat me down and he said, and I still remember this like it was yesterday. Of course, I was probably 12 or 13, but he said, just do your best. You excel at whatever it is you do, and then nothing else will matter because whoever is trying to pull you down, they're nothing if you do your best. So he would say things like this.
I'll ask you this question. You were in school. Were you ever confronted with people that, I don't want to use the word condescending, but
Absolutely.
there are people like that, and how did you react, Jose? Then I'll ask you.
What do you mean by condescending?
They kind of, I don't want to, they kind of look down at you, and they say, these Laurels and all that. Do you ever meet, you meet all sorts of people in school, or maybe did you ever meet anybody that politically was divided from your position?
Oh yeah. I just moved here in 1997. I attended the Ateneo.
Okay.
And I was the new kid on the block.
Okay.
So one of my classmates says, "You gotta come with me somewhere."
Okay.
And I'm like, "Where are we going?" "I want to introduce you to someone."
Okay.
And he puts me in front of this tall, this tall gentleman who's in my batch.
Okay.
And he's like, "I'd like you to meet the grandson of President Marcos."
Okay.
And I'm just like, "Hi, how are you?" "I'm Jose." He gave his name and we shook on it and we became friends ever since. We had mutual respect for each other. And that's pretty much the only experience I really had in terms of, I guess he was trying to start something, but we were cool, totally cool with each other.
Oh, yeah.
It had a different effect in church.
Exactly. And until now, we're still friends.
Yeah, I'm friends
how
with
about-
some of the Marcoses too. It's cool.
Can you relate a similar experience as well?
It was more about Papa Doy's father, Lolo Jose.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd go to school and a few people who I went to school with knew my middle name and whenever we talk about politics, they would refer to Lolo Jose as a collaborator.
Yes.
I keep hearing this word,
yes.
collaborator.
Yeah.
That he ended up in Japan and this, and he wasn't pro. But then one day I said, I don't care if I get kicked out of this class.
Okay. This was a history class.
Yes, it was in college.
Okay. Yes.
And so I just stood up and I said, it wasn't about being pro-American or pro-Japanese. Have you ever thought about the fact that he might have been pro-Filipino?
Yeah.
and that his love and Papa Doy's love for the country was on a different level because it was unconditional. Because no matter how many times he had been misled or betrayed, he continued to serve the country. And I said my piece, and I knew there were some people who said, yeah, whatever, she's the great-granddaughter. But
how about your
I
teachers?
had to say it.
Teachers, did your teachers make any commentary or came up with their own observations? Did you ever have to go to your Papa Doy and ask certain thoughts had to be, strengthened in order to be able to dispel all these talks?
It wasn't so much about the political side. I've been blessed with teachers who wanted to gather information. So they were like, oh, ask your lolo, like this,
They're more like students wanting to learn.
Yes, that's nice.
Okay.
The other part was, siguro, there were a number of teachers who for some reason thought we were so wealthy, which is not the case. But they were saying, okay lang yan, Laurel ka naman eh. But I never really understood it because that's really never what it was about. So yeah, I experienced that, but not so much about, defamating his name, nothing like that.
But a while ago, we were talking about some Marcoses. You've been introduced to some of them, of course.
Oh, not just, we're friends. We keep in touch.
Same common friends. So it had a different effect, so to speak.
Yeah. I think it hasn't really affected our
Oh, that's good.
generation.
That's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really very interesting. This is the reason why we're talking to this generation, because this is looking at EDSA from several generations ahead, and maybe this will give us a gleaning of what the future holds for our country and how we are able to move on and sort of close certain chapters in
Closing loops.
closing the chapter in our history. In terms of the paper that you did for college, give us an idea what prompted you to write this paper for college, and what motivated you.
Well, when I thought of the topic, that was, I think, after the last time I saw Papa Doy. He already left for the States to be checked for his condition.
Okay.
And I always looked up to him. He would, at a young age, he would always teach me to compete. He'd always challenge me in chess.
Okay.
He'd have tournaments for the grandchildren. And he'd always teach me how to debate properly.
Yes.
Okay.
You have to know how to talk. You have to know how to argue properly. So, because of this giant of a man, I decided to do my college paper on him in one of my classes, precisely because a lot of kids, a lot of youth nowadays, don't see his name in the history books.
Okay.
And a man with this much credentials.
Do you ever wonder why his names isn't in the history books as it should be?
My personal opinion is because the winners write history.
Yes, absolutely.
The winners
Okay.
are the ones that have the final say as to what is put inside the history books.
Okay.
Right.
You caught on to something very important. I think here, grab a hold on that. And then, okay, go ahead. And then, as you were saying, before I cut you off.
Yeah. So basically, the winners write the history books. It's been seen through time. People are left out of history precisely because they didn't win, or because they weren't elected, or because the person that won the spot wanted all the credit. It could be many, many, many reasons as to why certain people are left out through history.
And you realized this as you did your paper? Or you realized this even before you did your paper?
What I realized when I did my paper was just how much he could have done for our country. Just how much work he put in for our freedom. Just how much love he had for our people. And just how much of a perfect candidate he was. Well, maybe not exactly like perfect, because that's a big word, but
Yes.
just how much of an eligible candidate he was.
Okay.
Of all the available selections that were available during that election.
When you did your paper, you had in your mind that I would do a paper on Papa Doy. In short, there were no contenders.
Not really.
And how did you go about doing your research?
Well, my research material was primarily his books.
What was your objective, in short, in your paper?
I wanted to paint a picture for my classmates.
In short, who is Doy Laurel. That was the question you wanted to answer? Was that the question?
More or less.
Okay.
More or less. It was first initially, my initial impact was to create awareness of who he was.
Yes.
And also to, you know, sort of pass on what he did and what he stood for.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is a role model to how a statesman should really be.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably one of the last, if ever. And hopefully it could be like a beacon for all the next generation to study his life and learn so much as to what it really takes to be a leader of this country.
So, what were the discoveries that you found out through your readings, which maybe the public doesn't know about Doy Laurel?
Well, basically, I found out a lot of information that occurred between August 21, 1983,
Okay.
which is the death of Ninoy Aquino,
Okay.
and the snap elections of 1986.
Okay.
There was a lot that transpired in between then that has been omitted from the history books.
Okay.
It goes straight from 83 assassination to the
All of a sudden,
snap
it's election
elections,
time.
and you're like, what happened in between? Who was the one that carried the opposition without fear? Who had protection against Marcos and all those, you know, other things, and
that's the reason why this paper is here, because this pamphlet starts from 1980 up to 86. So you start off from 83, and actually your Papa Doy started it in 1980s already, up to 86. So it was like 6 years of masonry, political masonry, for a democratic alternative for our country. Yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, so that's
From 83 to 86.
yes. So that's what I realized was what I learned the most.
There's a political amnesia, no? From 83.
Yes,
After 83,
there
it's
is.
86 right away.
Yes, there is.
And
There
the
is.
worst part is there's another amnesia, which is they forget that there was 1980 up to 86.
Yes.
This makes it 6 years of continuous struggle for your Papa Doy and for the party that brought the torch of liberty. Yes, you want to say something?
Oh, no. I was agreeing with
Okay.
the point because, well, like he said, history is written by the winner.
And you realize this also?
Of course, because that's the way it's gone in, you know, it's an archetype. It repeats itself in any era, in any revolution. You don't really know the full story because it's written by the ones who survived to write it, by the ones who have means to write it. And I think this is a classic case because, like he said, what happened during those integral years between 1980 and 1986? Why isn't there any material? Maybe it can spark initiative for someone to write about it. That would be great.
An academic to be able to put history in its proper perspective.
Right, and also because media is controlled.
Yes.
So how will these materials?
She said so many things already. I like her. Okay.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was here to be
I like
honest.
This. Okay.
No, but
at least the jeans are starting to show. Okay.
I'm wearing his color for,
I know,
for
green
a
one,
reason.
okay.
No, but it is controlled. There are certain powers who control the media and what gets put out. So
Okay.
with utmost tact, how are you going to release these materials and make people aware of what happened? And another thing I was agreeing with him in my mind about was because he was such an eligible candidate, because he had great qualifications as a candidate, this is probably why they didn't let him win, because he could not be manipulated.
See, I told you it's in the genes. We're going to pause for a few reminders, and when Republika returns, we're going to be talking more about Unido, about Doy Laurel, and later on we'll be bringing in a 15-minute documentary. So magbabalik po ng Republika.